بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه الأنصار. This is the 8th and last session on this series of self-knowledge. We start with the subject of free will. We said that according to the Quran, human beings are free to decide what to do, to decide what kind of person they want to become. And this is something very obvious whenever we reflect on our own way of making decisions. We really find that I could have made another decision. For example, just today, for example, we all have decided to come here. But we were not forced to come here. And we were not, for example, dictated or predestined to come. Even if you, for example, register, still you may come or may not come. So freedom is always remaining there. And Rumi says beautifully, he says, این که گویی این کنم یا آن کنم خود دلیل اختیار باشد ای صنم. When you tell yourself, should I do this or that, this shows that you have free will. Otherwise, you would not have free will. Like someone who is, if someone is falling down from top of a, for example, building, okay? If someone is falling down, he cannot say, should I reach the floor or not? There is no reason, there is no choice here. There is no reason to think about whether should I reach the floor or not. But the very fact that you say, in konam ya an konam, should I do this or that? This shows that we are free. But there are some problems, some questions in minds of some people that have made them to deny free will. And here we have mentioned some of these problems. For example, some people believe in determinism. Determinism is to say that our acts are fixed, predestined in advance. Some people have some idea which we called it here philosophical determinism. They believe that philosophically it's impossible to be free. Why? Because they say every effect has a cause. Okay? And in this world, everything which happens is through this causality system. Cause and effect. Whenever there is cause, the necessary cause for something, necessarily the effect comes after. Or in other words, when causation is completed, the effect comes necessarily after. So here they talk about two types of cause. They say we have incomplete cause and we have complete cause. Incomplete cause is like, for example, if you have just seed for a flower. This is not complete cause for having a flower. If you have seed and soil, still this is not enough. If you put the seed in the soil, there is enough water, enough air, everything. Still this is not complete cause. But if all the requirements are there, all the things which are needed, then it would be necessary to have flower. In the philosophical classical books, they call it قاعدة وجوب. They say, whenever the cause is completed, existence of effect becomes wajib. Wajib means necessary, doesn't mean obligatory. In philosophical sense, when we say wajib, this doesn't mean obligatory, it means necessary. Okay, now the question is, if the existence of effect is necessary after the cause is completed, it means that in respect to our acts, we are not free. Because if the cause for our acts are completed, so our acts must come automatically. I am not free. I cannot stop it. This is what they say. And there is an easy answer to this. It is true that whenever the cause is complete, the effect comes. But in respect to our act, part of the cause is my will. My will is included. So if everything is there, for example, if there is a course going on, if there is a way to come here, if everything is okay, I am healthy, I am existent, everything, but still I don't want to be here. So the cause is not completed, therefore the effect is not there. So the problem with these people is that they have ignored the role of will as completing part of the cause. This is one problem and the answer. Another problem I have called historical determinism. Some people believe that history has some spirit. They believe in a spirit for the history. And they say history forces itself, imposes itself on us. Whether you like it or not like it, whatever history wants will happen. Maybe people of, for example, this country or another country or the world, they don't want something. But if history wants, this will happen. This is historical determinism. And this was very strong among the communists. The communists had this idea of everything being fixed and people cannot stop the course of history. But we don't believe in such a thing as a spirit for history. We don't believe history is something independent from human beings. History is human beings living in different generations. We don't have anything as a, for example, giant being, called history. There is no force for history. Of course, we Muslims and many other people, normally maybe in every tradition, we have some understanding about what is going to happen in the course of history. Not because history is imposing itself, no, because of some source of information that we have. For example, we as Muslims, we believe in Quran and Hadith, and by reading Hadith, we understand that this is what is going to happen. For example, we all believe that there would be good end for humanity. But this is not because history is forcing this. No, this is news, this is an information about what is going to happen. And this is very much based on the people. This is why we cannot fix any time. When people want, they can bring it earlier or they can postpone it. There is no fixation here. So, historical determinism also is not accepted. Some people believe in social determinism. Some people like Emil Durkheim, they had the idea that there is a spirit again for the society. They believe every society has a spirit. And the people who are members of the society must somehow act according to the will of the spirit of their society. So it's not that whatever you want to do, you can do. There are many things which are dictated to you by your own society. And some people have thought, okay, this is a good reason to believe in determinism. If I am living in a bad society, so I cannot be a good person. I have to be a bad person. Again, here we don't believe in any esprit for society. If, for example, there are 10 millions of people living in a society, for example, so how many existences are there? How many beings are there? 10 million, not 10 million plus one. If here we are, for example, 50 people, 60 people, the only thing which is here is 50, 60 people, not 50, 60 people plus a spirit which is here. And we are, in the mercy of that, spirit. It's not this. Human beings have lots of interactions between each other when they live in society. I am influenced by you, you are influenced by me or other people. But this is not because there is a spirit, so-called spirit of the society. This is the interaction between us, ourselves. And no one is able to force other people, force in the sense of taking away their freedom. They can put pressure on you, but no one can take away your freedom. What can they do? For example, if someone wants to be a good person, and he lives in a terrible society, is that society able to force him to be bad? No. They can put lots of pressure. They can make it very difficult for him. They can make him suffer. They can cause lots of difficulty, inflict pains, but they cannot stop him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created human beings in the way that they have full control of their faith and piety. And what the people may do to stop you may indeed just increase your iman. Because the more you suffer, the more attention you will receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why the Quran says, وَمَا زَادَهُمْ إِلَّا إِيمَانًا وَتَسْلِيمًا. When Allah talks about the people, the previous nation, the prophets, their followers, who were under pressure, Allah said whatever they received didn't increase them except faith and submission. Even if they kill you, this is the last thing that they may do. Even if they kill you, this is not going to damage you. You become shaheed. This is by itself a very good thing that they can do for someone to make you shaheed. So, no one has control over any person. This is why we see in the course of history, people living in terrible situations, they were good. Not only they were good, look at this, not only they were good, they became examples for others. The wife of Pharaoh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the end of Surah Tahrim that one of the examples for believers is وَامْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ. She was so pious that became an example, a role model for all believers. Although she was living in the palace of Pharaoh and with the Pharaoh. So it's quite possible. And on the other hand, you have son of Nuh. Son of Nuh was living with his father maybe for hundreds of years, because Nuh lived 950 years, just was the time he spent on his tabligh. His life was more. So maybe he lived with his father for hundreds of years, but this didn't make him good. Indeed, he was so bad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Nuh, إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. He is not from you. He is a vicious act. Talking about his son, Allah says he's a vicious act, not a vicious person. Vicious act means he is an embodiment of wickedness. So, there is no jab, there is no determination. We are all living in the same world today. You are living all in the same city and town. Some people want to become good, some people don't want to become good. There is no determinism, there is no force. So we don't believe in determinism, and indeed this is one of the, I don't say whoever believes in determinism is having bad intention, but to be sure, this is one of the big weapons of shaitan. Because when shaitan wants to get away, our determination says, oh, you are in such a bad situation that there is no chance for you. Whatever you do, you cannot achieve, great, good qualities. Shaitan always tries to use this as something to stop us, so that we don't accept we are responsible, we can do something. Another kind of determinism is natural determinism. Some people refer, instead of history or society, to nature. For example, they say, oh, people are very much influenced by climate. If you live in a cold city, you would be very cool, not very tempered. But if you live in a very hot climate, you become easily angry. Especially if you drive and there is no air condition and you are stuck in traffic, then you will easily lose your patience. Or food is very important. Sometimes some food, some ingredients may make you feel very sad or make you feel very happy. Some food may make you feel very light. As we say, if you, for example, eat lettuce, it makes your heart soft. Yeah? But someone said something very good. Said, the softness which comes with lettuce, we may go away with one bite of meat. So this is not the one type of softness we want. We want types of softness which remains. But food is very important. This is why in Islam we are encouraged to eat meat, but not to eat too many meats. So we should eat meat, but not too much, because it makes our heart very hard and So food is important. Or also some people very much stress on genes. They say, for example, because of the genes that you have inherited from your fathers and forefathers, you are bound to be like them. But these are not true. No one is bound. Even twins who have the same genome may become two different people. Even in the case of cloning, if you can really clone a person and everything would be like him, still it doesn't mean that he would become the same person. No. People are free to choose. Forget cloning. Just you yourself. You yourself, with all the genes that you have. If you were not born in that particular context, for example, you were born after 20 years, you may not would have become the same person. Yeah? So there is lots of things going on. Role of society, role of parents, training, upbringing, all these things that are important. And more important than anything else, the freedom of the person, the free choice of the person. So we are not denying the role of nature or food or climate or genes. No, we accept this. But we are saying that in the end, there is some space left for you. Especially when it become the issue of whether you are good person or bad person. Maybe you cannot change your size or your appearance, your gender. You cannot change these things. But these are not the things for which you are going to hell or heaven. These are not the things for which you should be blamed or praised. The thing for which we can be blamed or praised are those things which are coming out of our own decision and determination. So this is something about determinism. And the last type of determinism here is religious determinism. Sometimes religious people believe in determinism. Unfortunately, this is very sad. For example, in the early history of Islam, a debate started about Jabr, about determinism, and also on the other hand, there were some people who believe in tafweez, which means everything is delegated to human beings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shifted all the responsibility to human beings and He has nothing to do with us. And both were wrong. We believe neither we are determined and predestined, nor we are fully in control of what is happening. لا جبر ولا تفويض بل أمر بين أمرين. There is something in middle. We are to accept, we must accept our limits. As I said, there are many things that it's not in my hand. But this doesn't mean to deny what is in my hand. Okay? So I can decide what kind of person to become. But at the same time, I must be humble. I don't have full control over everything. Even I cannot have control over my life, over my health, over my memory. Sometimes you may forget the name of your children. Sometimes by one accident, you lose all your memory. So we are very weak, but still we have great power. So something in between. Must find the balance here. Sometimes religious people believe in determinism because they misunderstand the Quran or because of some theological arguments. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran emphasizes that everything is in His hand. Like this ayah, page 108, please look at page 108. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. This famous ayah, beautiful ayah. تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرُ إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. This ayah teaches us that everything is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives to the people that He wants, He takes away from them, He gives dignity and honor and takes away dignity and honor. Everything in His hand. Okay, some people misunderstand this. Okay, this means that we have no role to play. If there is someone in power, this is what Allah has given him. If someone is not in power, he should not do anything. Doing anything means you are not happy with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this type of understanding is very much promoted and encouraged by the tyrants, like Umayyads. Umayyads were very much encouraging the people to develop determinism among the people. And I have mentioned it here also, conversation between, for example, Ibn Ziyad and Lady Zainab or Imam Sajjad, that how they wanted to say that what happened in Karbala was done by Allah and was decided by Allah, to the extent that they wanted to deny their own responsibility and wanted to tell to the people, this is what Allah wanted. Allah wanted us to become victorious. So sometimes people misunderstand Quranic texts. But as we know, if we want to understand the Quran, we must bring all the relevant verses of the Quran together. And under the light and guidance of all the relevant verses, we can understand the Quran. Why you only focus on these verses? There are many verses which clarify these verses. As we said, Quran interpret part of it, the other part. Like what? Like for example, this ayah. in chapter 76, number 2 and number 3, page 110. This is from Surah Dahr, Al-Ata. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجًا نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. This is very important ayah, is like a key, like a guideline. Allah talks about creation of human being, and He says He has created us in the way that we can understand, and then He says He has showed us the path. Now it is to us to be thankful or unthankful. إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. So this means that this is to us. Or إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Quran is nothing other than a reminder for human beings. A reminder for human beings. For what type of people? لَمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَسْتَقِيمُ. For those among you who want to be on the right path. لَمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ. Then Allah says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And you don't want until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. So this ayah gives us the key to come to some conclusion. That we must want, but we can only want when Allah wants. So what does it mean? It means that there are two types of will for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very important topic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a generative will. You know, we had generative wilaya, al-wilaya takwiniya. Now we have generative will, al-irada at-takwiniya, and al-irada at-tashri'iyya. Generative will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever happens in this world, whatever happens is only possible if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that. If Allah's will is there. Nothing can happen in this world. When I am saying this world, I don't mean dunya. I mean in the whole universe. Nothing can happen without blessing of Allah, without permission of Allah, without will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever happens is all possible when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that. This is called generative will. And this is comprehensive, all-inclusive. Whatever happens, good or bad. If I do something good or something bad, makes no difference. Both of them are done in the universe which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we shouldn't think that if we do something wrong, we have been more clever than Allah. We did something and He didn't know, or He couldn't stop us. This is not the way. Whatever we do, it must be somehow allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somehow allowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Because if He didn't want, He could have stopped us. He could have destroyed me. Okay? He could have taken away my power, my knowledge, everything. So whatever happens is known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and permitted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in which sense? In the generative sense. It means that Allah's generative will is there. But among the things which happen, there are something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes, and there are something that He doesn't like. Those that He likes are the things He has legislatively willed. Those things that He doesn't like are the things that He legislatively prohibited. Okay? So, if someone tells, for example, lies or backbites another person. Is this will by Allah? This is wanted by Allah or not? The answer is yes and no. This is wanted by Allah in the generative sense. But this was not wanted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a legislative sense. So Allah allowed this to happen, but didn't like this to happen. And this is also very helpful in understanding how kind is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That He allows people to disobey Him. He allows people to disobey Him. Why? Because He wants freedom. He doesn't like us only to obey Him without having free will. He says, okay, I have given you free will, and I ask you to do good things. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah says He commands you to be kind, benevolent, to give to the people, especially to the kingship, to observe justice, all these things. But He says, if you want to do something wrong, I'm not going to kill you right away. If you are going to do something, for example, which is not liked by me, I give you the chance. But you must know that you will be responsible and accountable for what you do. Not only this, even from some ayah of the Quran, we can understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even may help the people who go astray. He supports all people. The people who want to be on the right path, Allah helps them. The people who want to go on the right way, Allah also helps them. So that no one would blame Allah that I didn't have support. This is Quran.
Existence of shaitan is a help as well.
Pardon?
Existence of shaitan.
Existence of shaitan is also something which plays a role here, but not necessarily. It was not that Allah wanted shaitan to be here. Okay, in the legislative sense. Because some people have misunderstanding here. They say we shouldn't blame shaitan. Shaitan has very important role, and shaitan is an agent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that Allah can test us. But this is not true. Allah didn't want shaitan to have such a position. But now that shaitan insists on having this position, so he's doing this part. Like people, many human beings may do shaitani or satanic job. This doesn't mean that Allah likes this. Okay. So, this is ayah, if you want to later study, look for this ayah. كُلًّا نُمِدُّ هَؤُلَاء وَهَؤُلَاء وَمَا كَانَ عَطَاءُ رَبِّكَ مَحْظُورًا. Look for this ayah in Mu'jam. كُلًّا نُمِدُّ هَؤُلَاء وَهَؤُلَاء وَمَا كَانَ عَطَاءُ رَبِّكَ مَحْظُورًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we support these people and that people. And Allah's giving, Allah's gifts is not limited. So Allah gives to everyone. So what Allah doesn't give is when someone is not making effort. If someone makes effort, whether good direction or bad direction, he would receive some support. The most terrible people are the people who are lazy and they don't do anything. But the people who make efforts, they will receive some support, but this doesn't mean that they are good people. Okay. So, if someone asks me what happened in Karbala, what, for example, Yazid did, was it something that Allah wanted or not? This is a very tricky question. But the answer is very clear. What happened in Karbala was something that Allah wanted, in the sense that Allah permitted this. If Allah didn't want this, who was Yazid and millions of Yazid to do something? They couldn't do anything. Allah wanted in the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let it happen. And this is what we have also that Imam Hussein, in his dream on the way to Karbala, dream of the Prophet, and the Prophet said, "Inna Allah sha'a an yaraka qatila." Allah wanted to see you as martyr. So Allah wanted this. Okay? But in this sense, that Allah wanted this to happen, means let this to happen. But when it comes to legislative will, which means whether this was loved by Allah or disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, certainly this was not something that Allah wanted. Okay? So you must be very careful. Whatever happens in this dunya can only happen if Allah wants. تُؤْتِ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مَنْ. If there are tyrants in power, this doesn't mean that they have bypassed Allah. They have been able to, for example, put Allah in some corner and then take power from Him. No. Allah is always capable to do what He wants. But this doesn't mean that Allah is endorsing what they do. This doesn't mean Allah is giving legitimacy to what they do. Okay? So we must be very careful.
There's even the example of Pharaoh that he claimed to be God, and sometimes when the rain didn't come, the people were worried. I said, we die of thirst, and then he goes and prays to Allah, and Allah sends the rain, even though he claims himself to be God. So this is again Allah's helping him, even though he's on the wrong path.
Yes, Allah may help the people, but this doesn't mean that they are right. Especially what we have in the concept of istidraj, that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give people what they want, not because they are good, because Allah wants them to increase their crime. And this is what Lady Zainab told Yazid, that you shouldn't think that Allah loves you. Allah wants you, you are so bad and wicked that Allah wants you to become worse, so that you would lose everything. And this is what Quran says, ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا ظَالِمِينَ. Anyway, we don't believe in determinism at all. We believe that human beings are free, especially when it comes to the matter which are related to being good or bad. But at the same time, we know that we have some limits. It's not that everything is in my hand. The people who are intelligent, clever, are the people who know how to make most out of what is possible, what is available. Don't waste your time and energy on what is not in your hand. Try to invest on what you can do. And there is plenty of things that we can do. So, this is about the issue of free will. Now that we are free, and we know what we can become, how much we can upgrade ourselves or degrade ourselves. Now we must learn how to exercise this freedom in the way that we can build ourselves. So this is where self-building starts. Okay? So inshallah we will start the new series on self-building, inshallah. Thank you very much for your attention.
No.